My name is Genavieve Paige Villar, and this is More Than a Woman, where success is only part of the story. Today, we have Paula Gomez, who is a marketing and communications strategist with more than 20 years of experience helping some of the biggest names in travel, hospitality, real estate, and tourism build unforgettable brands. From the Fontainebleau, Miami Beach, and Lincoln Road to Greater Miami, Cancun, and Dominican Republic's Ministry of Tourism, she's built a career around the power of storytelling. But today, we're going beyond the resume to learn about the woman behind the success. Please welcome Paula Gomez.
Thank you, Genevieve. It's amazing to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes, I am so happy and excited to have you on. I also didn't mention that you are a VP of the data agency, which is a PR firm here in Miami. So for everyone that sees this impressive resume,
Mhm.
what's chapters that no one knows about you?
So I actually never studied PR. I studied journalism and mass communications. And I kind of just stumbled on PR by chance. I did a lot of internships. I put myself through school and I did a lot of internships leading up to going into PR. And at one of my internships, a colleague of mine, she had just gotten a job at this magazine, Lincoln Road magazine, which no longer exists. And she had been invited to an event, which is what a lot of journalists do. They get invited to events and networking and learning about different brands, and that's how they write their stories. And so she attends this event, and she's like, "Look, I know that you just started looking for a job, but I met this publicist, and I think that you would be amazing at PR. And if you're interested, they're looking for an internship." And I was like, "Oh my God, another internship." But I had just graduated. I had put myself through school. I had been working all that time, and I had a job that was paid. I had health insurance, I had 401k, I had the whole thing. And to go from that to another unpaid internship after graduation, I was like, "Oh, I don't know." So I go into this interview for this PR firm, and I immediately fall in love. Like, I walk into the office, it was like nothing I had ever seen. The energy in the room, all the different brands that they represented. And so I sit in this internship, and the gentleman who was interviewing me, he's like, "You didn't study PR. Why do you think that you'd be, good for this?" And so I started telling him that I worked as a customer service manager, and I'd get all the hard clients. Like, anytime somebody's like, "I want to speak to a manager,"
You
I'd
would
get
you
that.
would put out the fires.
I'd put out all the fires. And so I correlated that to PR. I said, "Listen, if a client is upset, I kind of try to transform the narrative. I try to make them see the brand's perspective, but in a way that feels positive. I have a lot of patience, and I take the time with this client, and eventually I have a really great success record. I usually turn them over." And he kind of smiled. He like laid back. He smiled. He's like, "Okay, I've never heard that one before. I think I'm gonna give you a shot." And I 3 months later got hired full time, and so the gamble paid off. So that's
Amazing.
kind of
This is not the same agency that you're still with.
no. That was a long time ago. That was like 20 years ago. I was with them for about 5 years though.
Okay. And when did you transition into the agency that you're with now?
Oh, I've actually been at the Dana agency for about 4 years now.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it was a great opportunity because I had actually partnered with Dana years prior on several accounts when I was working somewhere else. And
Mhm.
the Dana agency has been around for 20 years. Luxury lifestyle agency. They had a culinary division, a hospitality division, art and culture, and beauty, health, wellness. But they didn't really have a real estate division. They had like a client here and there. And so at the job I had right before coming to the Dana agency, I had really been focusing on real estate, and which was something new for me too. I had only been doing real estate for about 3 years, but because we had worked together, she said, "Listen, I need to grow my real estate division. I'd really like you to come on board, help me grow this division," and that's kind of how that happened.
So that's what you're focusing on now is the real estate.
Yeah, mostly real estate, which was a big change because for the earlier part of my career, I focused mostly entirely on destination marketing and hospitality. So,
What was the first moment that you realized that storytelling could change businesses?
so That's a tough question. I've always been a storyteller. It's so funny that you asked me that because in middle school they did like in our cheer we had I was on a cheerleading team, and on our end of the year trip they gave out these superlatives, and everyone, like most talkative or most beautiful or like best
I
stunts
remember
and
those.
whatever. Yeah, mine was the storyteller. So I
How
feel
funny.
yeah, and that was I had no idea I was going to go into PR or communications or even study journalism. So I think from very early on, I loved telling stories, and then I just figured out a way to turn that into a business by helping brands tell theirs. And I really take a passion in helping my clients tell their stories to their right audiences.
Do you ever pick, or do you ever get clients that maybe have not the best reputation at the moment and you try to transition them into having a is like their bad reputation like a forever long-term thing, or do you think that brands or businesses or people can get out of those bad reputations?
I do think that businesses do have the ability to work themselves out of those situations, but where I really love to help brands is when they're starting from the ground up, when they really have zero presence, and helping them create from the ground up. We have one client right now we have several clients like that, but one in particular that I have a really strong passion for. They've sort of built this niche for themselves. They are an early education school builder.
Okay.
There's no one like that. There's a lot of developers in South Florida building multifamily, office, warehouse, industrial, but not a lot of people that focused on early education. And that's a huge uh, opportunity because we're talking about the need for schools everywhere, and there's not enough seats for all the kids in the community. And so yes, we need more seats, but before building the seats you need the facilities, but no one's building that. It's a very complex industry. And so we started working with this client about 3 years ago, and they had no presence really. And so we had the opportunity to put them on the map and help them grow their brand, and slowly but surely getting them in the right media outlets, in front of the right audiences, putting them up for the right awards. uh 3 years later they're huge. You Google them, and or nowadays ChatGPT, and you ask who's the top school builder in the country, and they're usually at the top of that list. And they're doing really great work. We got the CEO on Worth Magazine's Worthy 100
Wow.
in 2024, and he was in the same with in the same magazine with major celebrities, CEOs of major brands, and so for him to be on that list was a big deal.
What do you think though is most important? You have this product, but then maybe they're a startup, so they don't have the financials to be able to afford a PR agency. Do you feel like it's just as important to hire early on someone like a PR firm to really take them to the next level? But what if they don't have the means for that yet? So what do you think is the best strategy?
It's tough because it is an investment in your brand. People invest in talent, people invest in their office, but investing in PR and marketing and publicity is very important, because if you don't have that from the beginning, it's a slower, sometimes there every brand is a little bit different, but it's definitely a challenging and a slower climb than if you were to invest in marketing from the very beginning, when you have that capital to kind of figure out where you want to plug it in. And so PR, marketing, social media, all of that is very important.
I feel like it's extremely important. I see the difference in, all the strategies that I take on to try to get some media coverage for myself or, just building up my Instagrams. Do you think that AI, Claude, ChatGPT, all these different AI platforms, do you feel like they are kind of taking away from maybe your job? And people are like, oh, I could just use ChatGPT to help me, build my brand. Do you feel like that is happening?
I love that question because it's something we've been talking a lot about in the industry. So, public relations is a lot about relationship building with the press. And at one point, social media was sort of was really taking over, and you know magazines were folding, newspapers were folding, and we were scared that more and more it was turning in that direction. But what we're realizing now is that where all of these AI platforms are sourcing their results from are from the media placements that we secure in these reputable publications, because it's sourcing from places like the newspapers, like the Miami Herald, for example, in South Florida, magazines, reputable websites that actually have reporters that are doing the due diligence of doing real reporting, of finding out facts, not just taking a press release or what somebody's saying, but actually doing their due diligence of the research and the interviews. And so a lot of times what you're getting now is those search engines, those AI platforms are sourcing from the media that we've secured. And so we see that tide turning again, and it's really great to see that.
So you don't feel like you're going to, not quote unquote, but lose your job over AI one day? You feel like there is still value in the presence of, literally human interactions?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nothing is, reporters do a really great job in our community and throughout the world, and going beyond what a brand puts out about themselves, but goes deeper into the, what kind of brand are you? What do you stand for?
Mm-hmm.
They do their real reporting. And so I think that that will continue to remain valuable.
Do you think that companies overvalue social media, or do you feel like it is extremely important? It's the next wave of how we market ourselves.
It's everything. It's an integrated approach. Social media is reaching one kind of demographic with one kind of content. And then, all the different mediums are reaching different audiences with different content. And I think the best brands are the ones that have an integrated approach and are visible across a myriad of platforms.
Have you ever turned down an opportunity because it didn't align with your brand or your company or what you're trying to build in the name for your own personal brand as a PR agency?
Yes, it's happened a couple of times. It's definitely not something that we take lightly in our industry, but when we feel that there's just not an alignment and we're not going to be able to be passionate about it, it's the best that we can do for ourselves and for the company. Me personally, I take what I do very personal. Some people say, like, you shouldn't take it I take it personally. I love what I do. I've dedicated more than 20 years now to what I do. I am a little bit of a workaholic in that sense. I work really, really hard, and I'm really passionate about the clients that I work with. And the only way that I know that I can truthfully and honestly represent my clients is if I believe in them.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't believe in what I'm selling, then I don't think I'm going to be very good at doing it for my clients. So, yeah.
I know we spoke about it briefly, but if you're advising a young entrepreneur, where would you tell them to invest first, though? The marketing, the product, and the sales? Which route would you go first if they are a startup and they don't know where to put their money first?
I mean, of course, they have to have a product. They have to have something
Right.
to put out there, whatever that is. But yeah, I think a strong sales platform, of course, is number one, depending on the industry that they're in. But a strong social media presence coupled with media relations, coupled with web,
Mm-hmm.
I think.
I think that one thing that I personally regret, I've been in business for 10 years, but I don't think that I focused enough on marketing my own personal brand. And I started doing that within the last year or 2 years. And I've seen the difference in my business because I have focused on my own personal brand and the trust. People are not buying because they're buying my product. They're buying because they trust me as the person that owns the business. So I see the shift, and I see the importance of PR and any awards that I've won, and the networking, and also the people that I surround myself with. We are here today because Jenny introduced us.
Right.
But I feel like having even the friends in my circle, talking about my business, and I'll do the same for her and I will do the same for you. So I feel like, you should have your product and you should have the sales, obviously, and work towards the sales, but marketing, and not just in PR, but in daily conversations, is extremely important. So I see the value in all things equally.
So what made, I know that I'm the one being interviewed, but I'm very curious. What made you switch from, you said you started not doing a lot of marketing, not doing a lot of branding for yourself. So what made you switch?
I think that I started realizing, mostly post-COVID, that if I didn't change something, I was going to not make it in the industry. Fashion is really hard and it changed overnight. And I tried to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different outcome. And I realized that I was doing something wrong. I had to tear my business apart and put it back together and figure out what I needed to change. And I knew at the end of the day what people liked. And it might sound cocky, but people like me. And that has nothing to do with being confident or cocky. It's just like they like people. They like connecting with somebody. So I saw that. And as soon as I started doing more reels, as soon as I started, just connecting, they liked and appreciate that, because there's only so much you could do on a phone and you're like this all day long trying to make a sale. But that human interaction of that, every day, whether it be talking, in my stories and connecting with my audience, or just posting a funny meme and someone comments, it's that nurturing my clients through storytelling on my social media is what has really worked for me. So that's why I started, shifting. And I think I became a mom too. And I had more purpose. So it was really my push to keep going and figure out how am I going to get out of these COVID days and really change my business. And it worked.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love how, you mentioned network. We met through our mutual friend, Jenny. Jenny's in real estate, you're in fashion design, you have your amazing boutique, your store, and I'm in public relations. And I love when people from different industries come together to support each other. We do that at the Dana agency too, in a slightly different way. But, as I mentioned, we have different divisions. And my favorite thing to do is, for example, getting a real estate client and finding an opportunity to broker a partnership and introduce them to people in hospitality or art and culture, and getting, one of our artist clients to do an artist in residence program for one of our new multifamily developments. Or, something we did at one of our hotel clients a couple years ago. We have a pro bono program, a BIPOC pro bono program, and we had an artist come in and do an entire suite at one of our hotel clients. And so we marketed it, we sold the suite at a premium price, and it was a really great partnership. And thanks to that and a lot of other things that we did, we really elevated this artist, and she's doing incredible things. I mean, she was doing incredible things before, but
it really takes it to the next level. Because, and I say this all the time, I'm a designer, but I don't sew. And someone that knows how to sew is not a designer. But when you merge the two together, magic happens.
Right.
So when I started cross collaborating with different industries, I have nothing to do. Well, I have a little bit to do, but on my day to day, I don't focus on real estate, or I don't focus on cars. And I merged everything together. I did a photo shoot with really nice, expensive cars, but I sell also very high-end luxury. And maybe that person that loves cars also loves watches. And when you merge the two together, I didn't think like that before, though. I was only focusing on fashion. So I wasn't focusing on how do I keep getting those high-end clients. So when I really knew who my target audience was, then I knew how to reach them. So I think that's what has worked for me too, those different cross collaborations.
It's incredible. I keep building relationships, keeping those relationships, and not just for your personal benefit, but sometimes you find opportunities that are benefiting other people, and all of that good energy and all of that, it's just good business to be kind and to be helpful. And when you see an opportunity to introduce, somebody from one industry to another, just, it just makes everybody better in business, better in life. And so I just love doing that.
So I know you're a mom.
Yes.
I'm a mommy too. Do you ever have that guilt that you feel like you might be putting your career first?
Every day. every day. It's really challenging. And I struggle with it a lot because, like I mentioned, I'm a little bit of a workaholic.
Me too.
And I love working. I love being a mom as well. And sometimes it's hard to be great at everything. And so, if I'm failing here, then, if I'm trying to be extra good here, I'm failing there. And so it's a struggle, but I feel like in the last year or so, I've really had to pause and to make it. I have to make a really concerted effort to stop and to move from one to the other. But
Is
yeah,
that your way of balancing, or do you think that balance is like a myth? Like, it
I
doesn't
think
really exist?
I think balance is a myth. I think that you kind of go through ups and downs where like you're like prioritizing one,
Hmm.
and it's just the way that it is at that moment
Hmm.
for whatever the reason is, and then you have to sort of switch. Like right now in the summer, it's challenging because the kids are home from school. You're trying to figure out summer camp. You're trying to figure out summer vacations, and so right now it's a little bit more about that. And then of course, then we go into high season. So our agency we're national,
Hmm.
but our the big percentage of our client base is here in South Florida, in Miami. And so we have a high season coming up, right? In the fall going into spring. And so I know that I'm going to be very, very busy during that period of time. And so I kind of have to plan accordingly and make sure my life is kind of is focused on that. And so right now with the summer, it's a lot about the
How old
kids.
are your kids?
My son is 8, he's about to be 9, and my daughter is 12.
Okay.
Yeah, they're young. And so it's funny because we were talking about Jenny a little while ago. So last week our kids were in our sons were in football camp together.
I saw
And
pictures.
yeah, it was great. And so I was doing pickup that day from football camp, but I also had a really, really important meeting that I could not miss no matter what. And I had already committed to doing pickup that day for us. And so it just so happened that right when camp was ending and I had to go in and like physically like pick them up, it was the most important part of the call.
Oh no.
And it was really funny because I'm walking around the football field with my laptop open on a call, like because I'm trying to look at something I had on my computer and I'm picking up, and those moments are few and far between, but they happen and they're comedic. At the time you're going crazy, but but it is what
Did
it
it
is.
all work out?
It all worked out. The client was really happy, no one knew. And I got the kids,
Yeah.
and everything was fine.
It happens to me all the time where I need to pick up a phone call from one of my clients and my kids are already in the car. It must be like 5 o'clock, 5:30, and I'm picking them up from camp or from school, and they're just screaming in the background. So it's like that decision in my mind, do I call the client back or do I take the call? And even that alone, I'm like, I offer really good customer service, but I think it's also bad customer service to pick up the phone if my kids are screaming in the car.
Right.
So there is no balance. If I have good relationship with the client, I'll say, look, my kids are screaming in the background, but I want to take your call. So it's so hard. Do you
I
have a lot of help?
well, first I kind of I know who I can do that with and who I can't. I don't think I'll ever pick up the phone if they're screaming
Mhm.
in the car. But if I'm home and there's like a little bit of noise, and it depends on the client, I can say that. Other times I know that it's not appropriate. It's not the right client for that, and so I
Yeah.
have to
Do you have help?
I have my parents. They help a lot, a
Okay,
lot.
good.
They used to help a lot more. Now they're helping a little bit less. Schedules have changed a little bit. They're getting a little older.
Mhm.
But especially in the beginning when they were babies, they would help a lot.
And that was like prime of your career. You said 20 years. Well, you're like right in the middle of still growing. Are they watching you grow? Do you feel like they're at an age where they can appreciate like mommy's working and she's working really hard for us? Are they still too little?
I think my daughter a little bit. I don't think my son just
Yeah.
yet.
My kids know.
Yeah.
Yeah, my son, my older one is 4, and he'll see me like getting dressed nice and he says, "Mommy, you look beautiful. Are you going to work?" and he knows, like, he doesn't, they don't get sad anymore, which is sad for me because I'm like, I want them to miss me. But I feel like they already know, and that makes me feel a little bit of peace that they
Mm-hmm.
know that mommy and daddy are working and we have to focus too. Because I tell them, if you want to go to Disney, we need money, so mommy has to go to work. And they
Yeah.
love Disney, so they're like, okay, go to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I like calm myself from my mom guilt.
Yeah, I tell them stuff, I kind of say similar things. I say, I really have to work because we have to pay the house, we
Yeah.
have to pay what we have. You want this toy, you want this, so I'm gonna need a little bit of time to work, or after I put you to bed, I need to go back
Hmm.
to get on the computer because we just had this really beautiful day, this lovely day together, but now I need to
Yeah.
go back to that, and so they're.
So the show is called More Than a Woman. What does that name mean to you?
So it can mean a lot of things, right? I think mostly it means that I'm a lot of things. I'm a
Mhm.
woman, I'm a mom, I'm not an entrepreneur, which I know you've interviewed a lot of entrepreneurs, but I'm a businesswoman.
Mhm.
Um I'm a connector. I'm a relationship builder. I think that, that's what that means to
I
me.
love that. And I love that you see the name and see it in yourself as well. So that's actually why I came up with a name like that, because I feel like I could connect with multiple women. And people ask me, you have a lot of men on the show. Why is it called More Than a Woman? And I'm like, well, that day I'm more than a woman and they're my guest. But thank you so much for coming on the show. And if you can tell everybody where they can find you in the camera, on Instagram, on Facebook, wherever they could find you, just let everybody know where they can find you.
Of course. So my Instagram handle is Paula G15. And you can also follow the Dana Agency, thedanaagency.com. We are a full service marketing and communications agency specializing in hospitality, food and beverage, art and culture, hospitality, real estate, and more.
So thank you so much for watching. This was More Than a Woman. And just for a little teaser, we're going to be talking in the next couple of episodes, an app that I am now a partner on. It's called ShopBids, where we're going to be doing live selling of everything high-end luxury. So stay tuned for more, and thank you for watching.